Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I want to talk about this book, He Came to Set the Captives Free by Dr. Rebecca Brown. Now let me just say this before I get into this. This book is extremely graphic. If you're not 18 years old or older, click off this video, okay? If you're squeamish, if this stuff about cults and about demons, it makes you afraid, I would not watch this video. This video is gonna be graphic. It's for adults only. So please, teenagers, young kids, click off this video. This video is not for you. If you're still on this video, I highly recommend this book. Now, somebody did send me this book, and I just wanna say, guys, this book has rocked me. I'm only on page about 100. I think I'm halfway through, and it's just rocked me seeing the reality of the spiritual realm. This is those of you that are dabbling in the cult. This is not a game. This is not a joke. I really want to bring some light to this. And then also, to those of you that are believers, this is why we need to engage in spiritual warfare. The battle is real. The war is real. This testimony of a girl named Elaine, who is in the cult, who was one of the brides of Satan, coming out of it. That's what I'm going to be sharing about in this video. It'll probably be 2 parts. Her testimony and then her getting saved. Now, I did have a lot of video of me sharing about the different ceremonies she was involved with, these demonic cult ceremonies, and I'm not going to be adding them to the video. They're just too graphic, and I don't want anyone getting interested or trying to dabble in this stuff. So if you want to get the book, you can read it yourself. I won't be reading some of this I will be reading is graphic, but I just want to warn you guys, again, that some of this is very graphic, and I just felt convicted about sharing some of this because it is too intense and too strong for a video and too graphic for a video. So if you want to read it, you can. I tried getting it on Kindle. The reason why I'm not in my studio is because I tried to get on Kindle and it's actually not, it's under review right now on Kindle because it is that graphic. The book was written in the 80s, but I think it's very relevant for today. I want to start talking about Elaine, how she was dedicated to Satan as a child and didn't realize, her mom didn't realize she was actually dedicating her to a cult. So we're going to pick it up from Elaine being born, her story of how she was recruited into this cult. Again, I'm going to leave out all the really graphic stuff, and then just some really interesting stuff, some stuff we need to be aware of as believers. But she was born with a birth defect, and her parents didn't have money. Her mom couldn't afford to help her, and so this is where the story starts. It says, the day following my birth, Helene approached my mother with a proposition. If my mother would give Helen permission to take a very small amount of my blood, she and her friends would provide a way to get finances and the help my mom needed to obtain the best surgical and medical care that was available for me. My mother could not understand why Helene would do this in return for such a small thing. She never grasped the meaning of what Helene explained to her, but it seemed to be no other source, so my mom desperately needed help. What Helene did not explain to my mother, listen to this, guys, was that my blood was for a very important sale. The small container of blood taken from me was given to another woman called Grace. Grace was also in the Satanist cult. She was what is known as a high priestess. The selling of my blood was to give Grace more power, more activity, and a higher position within the occult. Helen, too, obtained more power through this transaction. So as a baby, she's already being dedicated in this cult, her mom not realizing it. The blood was taken, again, this is graphic, guys, by Helen and given to Grace. Grace then drank my blood during a ceremony which gave both Grace and Satan permission over me and opened me up as a home for many demons from that moment on. Grace, at Satan's discretion, sent many specific spirits into me which would shape and mold the personality and my entire future. My mother was not a Christian, neither did she know that this would mark me and mark me by the Satanists and would later in my life result in my own involvement in the cult. Had she had known that, my mother would have not been okay with giving my blood away. Later on in my life, as a member of the cult myself, I was a witness to many of these sales, and always my heart grieved as I thought about the consequences in the baby's future life. Satan now had a prized possession, a newborn baby where demons and spirits could have a home and could grow and become more powerful and agile in my life. As I became more and more aware of myself, even in my younger days, I knew something was different and something was going on with me, but I didn't know what it was. And she goes on to talk about how she had these powers, these demonic powers in school, and she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what was going on. And a friend of hers actually at church named Sandy invited her to a cult meeting to get fully initiated into this cult. And she didn't realize she was going to be forced into this cult. So I'm going to pick up from there. I'm skipping a lot through the book just to give you guys an overview. What Sandy did not mention inviting me was the word cult or tell me about this group. I will stop here and give you a summary of the group. Now, she's going to tell us about the group that she was involved in. Again, graphic, the cult she was involved in. This group, which secretly calls itself the Brotherhood, is made up of people who are directly controlled by the worship of Satan. It is dangerous and rapidly growing cult in the U.S., the West Coast, mostly in San Francisco, LA, and in other Midwestern U.S. where I lived. They're divided into local groups or covens, which range from 5 to 10 people to several thousand. This is the same cult written about in Hall Lindsey's book, Satan is Alive and on the Earth, another book called Satan's Cellar, another book called Freed from Witchcraft by Doreen Irvine, all write about this group. The cult is extremely secretive. No written records of membership are kept. Even the contracts with Satan signed in the blood by the members are burned by the high priest and high priestesses. These Satanists infest every level of society. Listen to this, guys. The poor, the rich, the educated, the police force, the government officials, businessmen and women, even Christian ministers. Some of them attend local churches and are considered good citizens because of their involvement in local activities. These all done as a cover-up. They lead double lives, and these people are masters of deception. And then she quotes 2 Corinthians 11, chapter 11, verses 14 through 15. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it's no great thing of his ministers also being transformed as ministers of righteousness. And these are how Satan works. He gets his people undercover into society, into churches, into believers, into all these different aspects. So she goes on to say they all go by code names at their meetings, so they should meet. If they meet each other on the streets, they don't know each other's real names. They are rigidly disciplined by Satan and his demons. They practice, again, I won't go into detail on this because it is too graphic, but they practice human sacrifices. Most of these sacrifices are done by babies born out of wedlock through cult members. The babies never enter the hospital, they're never registered, and their deaths are never recorded or their births never recorded. And then she said, I suspect because they can no longer live with themselves, many of them are cold-blooded murderers, extremely skillful. Again, won't go into detail on the sacrifices they do. Each coven is led by a high priest and high priestess. These people get their position by obtaining favor with Satan by various means and getting greater power into witchcraft. There are several other occult groups in the U.S. who call themselves the Illuminati. Most are not part of the Brotherhood. These groups of the Illuminati are mostly made up of people who are directly descendants from the Druids of ancient England. They are extremely powerful and dangerous people. They are linked to the Brotherhood, and they do practice human sacrifice regularly. Incredible atrocities are committed within these cults by people so controlled by demons that they lose all emotion of love and compassion, and they become cruel beings, hardly seen as even humans. Some we'll discuss later in this book, she says. The rapidly growing growth of the Brotherhood and the Illuminati is a mark of end times and a direct fulfillment of biblical prophecy. In the United States and around the world, there are countless thousands of cult groups that worship and serve Satan under many different names. Many do not call Satan by his name, but by other names like Master. Also independent groups and self-styled witches and Satanists, customs and styles of worship individuals, groups and organizations vary widely. And then she talks about how she stepped into this cult and how it all happened. She really did get forced into being in this cult. Again, I was going to talk about when she got recruited. It is just too graphic. I don't want to give glory to Satan, and I don't want you guys getting curious and trying to do any of these incantations. She talks about this is all for educational purposes so that we're aware of the reality of spiritual warfare. This is not a game or a joke. This is happening all around us, and so I want you guys to be aware of this, but I don't want to go into detail on this video because I do know some young kids will probably still be on here. Again, this is videos not for kids, not for teenagers. This is for adults only. Okay, I do want to talk about how she invoked demons into herself and she got power from these demons, because this is a real thing that people do and it's not to be messed with. Listen guys, if you're playing with Ouija boards, if you're playing with crystals, if you're playing with magic, I've dealt with many people that have let demons in involuntarily, some that have let demons in voluntarily, and we need to help these people. Like if we don't help them, who's going to? And so God has called us, God has assigned us as spiritual warriors to help these people get out of Satanism, get out of the occult. We need to be the body of Christ. And in the next video, I'll talk about how she actually got saved. So this is very graphic, but let me read some of this. She said, the first demon that I actually saw manifested in a physical form during my first ceremony when I signed the contract. The next demon I actually saw was the first conjured up demon of my own. As I performed the appropriate incantation, a cloud of smoke, which smelled strongly of sulfur. The whole episode was very elaborate and very staged type of thing, but it was very real. Again, the demon appeared in a physical form. He was huge, 8 feet tall. He had a body much like a man, yet different. He was all black, and I had since come to know he was from a demon group called the Black Warriors. He had fiery red eyes, huge hands, and his armor was really his skin. It was made up of thick, black, hard scales, something like a tortoise shell. Each scale was 6 inches square. I knew this was a powerful demon, and I called him up just to see if I can do it. Again, guys, this is not a joke. Demons are not a joke. Do not play around with this stuff. As he stood silently staring at me, I told him that I was the chosen one. His response was, I know who you are, and I've been sent to guard you, and that nothing will ever harm you as long as I'm here, as long as you serve the almighty Satan, our Lord and our God. His name was Rai-chan. He fought many battles for me, and when I was disobedient to Satan, he fought against me. I saw and conversed with many demons after this. As my skill grew in being able to see the spirit world, I was able to see and talk with demons without them taking on physical form. Indeed, I rarely asked them to appear physically except on special occasions, as I wanted to impress or frighten someone lower in the occult than myself. The next major demon I summoned was Manteca. This was during one of the training sessions with the high priestess in her home. She told me that I was at a point in my training where I must learn to do a very special incantation. She did not tell me the purpose, and I did not ask. I knew this day was an important one because of the special preparations made. First, I drew on the floor with chalk a very large pentagram, then I drew a circle around it. The reason why I drew a circle was to keep the demon in the circle and did not give him permission to move outside of the circle. The circle was to protect me and the witch from the demon that would show up. In reality, the demons do whatever they want, so I quickly learned to be very careful not to summon demons that were stronger than the demons I had protecting me. I put a black candle at each corner. Again, I don't want to go into detail on some of the stuff that she did. Let me skip some of this. She says, I ask no questions, but I obey the high priestess, instructions to the letter. I sat on the floor staring into the black candle in the center of the pentagram, murmuring, O great Satan, the power of the builder, the creator of the universe, I beg thee, give me a demon to guide me in my life. Okay, let me skip some of this. At that point, the high priestess spoke the name Manteca to me. I then said, Manteca, come, you're welcome to come into my body. Again, I'll skip some of this. And the demon appeared in a huge flame. The candle disappeared in a blinding white light. As the light died down over the next few seconds, I could see the figure of what appeared to be an incredibly handsome young man. Listen to this, guys, how the demon disguised himself as a man. He had a coal black hair and piercing black eyes that radiated intelligence. I hurried to my knees beside the pentagram with a rag. I wiped the chalk from the clear pathway through the pentagram. The young man, who was actually the demon Manteca in a physical form, stepped through to the outside of the pentagram on the pathway I made and spoke in perfect English in a gentle manner what seemed to be great love. He told me I was to be inhabited by him, and he promised he would not harm me, and told me he would give me all wisdom and knowledge, and he'd be my teacher and guide. He called himself the Redeemer. I agreed, very much awed by his beautiful countenance. He walked right into me. But listen to this. In the instant before he entered me, he changed from a human form to a demon that was hideous. He was naked. His face changed from beauty to hideous cruelty. The beautiful coal black locks of hair had become dull brown and were coarse and sparse and stubby like pig bristles. His eyes were incredibly dark and evil, his mouth open to show long, sharp, dirty yellow fangs. He had very long arms. His hands had stubby fingers tipped with long, sharply pointed nails. He uttered a horrible, hideous, loud laugh of triumph as he stepped directly into my body. I screamed out first at the sight of him, then at the pain of his entrance, searing, agonizing pain that I've never experienced before. I felt as if my body was on fire. I felt like I was going to die in this moment, and I wish with all my heart that I could have died. Rai-chan stepped forward on hearing my cry, thinking that perhaps I was being attacked by Manteca. Manteca spoke, saying, don't worry. As the pain died down, Manteca told me he was at small demonstration if I ever stopped obeying him, and also let me know that he was there to stay and that nothing or no one could ever make him leave. Again, this is not a joke or game, guys. Do not play with demons. From that point on, Manteca was the main demon in my life. He communicated with me by putting thoughts directly into my mind. I communicated with him by speaking out loud or speaking with my spirit body. I did not fully realize it, but Manteca cannot actually read my mind. So she's telling us the demons in her cannot read her mind. This is something we always talk about, demons not being able to read the mind. He controlled me and kept all my doorways open to Satan and other demons so that he could come and go as they choose and also as I willed. My life became centered around this demon. I gave all of my time and effort to try to gain control of him, but he had more control of me than I did him. Often he knocked me unconscious and completely controlled my body as he pleased. I don't want to read some of this. I learned through him how to use demons, how to use them in spiritual warfare, how to use them to strengthen my own spirit body, how to use them in ceremonies against other people and other witches and other ministers. But Manteca was not the light that he promised or the thing of love or beauty as I'd first seen. He was something evil and rotten, and he was eating away at my soul and body. He caused me much suffering and physical pain. Again, I'm going to skip this. Life was a continuous nightmare from this point on. I was living a double existence as a member of a satanic cult and also a member of a very large Christian church. Listen to this, where I taught, sang, and participated in all the activities. I was torn constantly. I had never a free moment. I was completely trapped, she said. I then began to battle many witches, and this is done in several ways. I won't go into the witches battle, but I do want to talk about something else she goes on in the book, something that is very real. And then the next video, I'll talk about how she actually got saved. I know this is crazy. This is not even graphic. What I'm sharing with you guys is not graphic compared to the rest of this book. Again, this is not for children. If you're not over 18, please do not buy this book or read this book. She goes on to talk about something very crazy. She says werewolves, zombies, and vampires. I know this sounds like a fictional book. It's not. This is real. I have a friend who came out of a very high satanic cult and was personal friends with Satan, and he could testify that many of this stuff she wrote or all the stuff she writes in this book is true. She says werewolves, zombies, and vampires and other were animals do exist. I've seen many of them, and they're closely guarded by Satan. No one controls these beings except Satan or his high-ranking demons. He uses these werewolves, vampires, and zombies mostly for discipline. I'll never forget the incident at a meeting where a werewolf came after a man. This is very graphic, guys. The man jumped up and ran with this werewolf coming after him. He could not hope to outrun the animal being, and he pulled out a .357 Magnum, firing the Magnum at the demon directly at the werewolf. The werewolf never even faltered. He tore the man to shreds, and no one in the congregation dared to move or make a sound, fearing that the werewolf would turn on him. These creatures are human beings possessed by certain types of powerful demons, capable of bringing about necessary physical changes in the human body. Some of the ancient Christian writings from the Dark Ages about these animals in Europe are very accurate. I've never found anything in writing that is accurate about them except in ancient satanic writings kept in the vaults of the main satanic mansion in the hills of California. These animals are greatly feared and hated by everyone within the cult. They're loners. These animals are 100% sold out to Satan, and I suspect during the tribulation that many of these will increase in number and be used by Satan for discipline. And I won't go into the discipline because it's too graphic. Another frequent method of discipline is demonically inflicted illness. Also, accidents, loss of job, demonic illness usually are favorites because few doctors can diagnose what is wrong, and the person is so afflicted they die a very painful and slow death, and the doctors think he's imagining the symptoms. Most of the children born to parents in the cult are dedicated to Satan, much like baby dedications in Christian churches. They happen in satanic churches. The ceremony involves a baptism of blood of a sacrificed animal. These children are demon-possessed from before birth. This goes on for generations, and unless some parents are willing to let Jesus Christ become the Lord and Master of their life and with his blood, wash away all that sin. Now listen to this, guys. I'm going to end with this because I don't want this to be only about the cult. The blood of Jesus is so powerful and his work on the cross is so complete that even these werewolves, zombies, and vampires could be saved. Jesus can raise the dead today just as he did when he walked the earth in human body. These people that are under Satan's control are dead. And I praise God today that I'm completely delivered. I belong to Jesus, to him alone. And there's no way that Satan or any of his people, no matter what they do to me, can stop me from telling what is going on in Satan's kingdom. You reader, if you're a member of the brotherhood, you too can be delivered from bondage. You do not have to stay in Satan's kingdom of evil and darkness and fear. Jesus can and will set you free. All you need to do is ask him to wash away your sin and become the Lord and Master of your life. Don't wait. The time is short. Jesus is coming soon. There's not many days left. Make haste while there's time. Will you be left behind when Jesus comes, or will he take you home and you will be his? Please turn to him now. Guys, this is her testimony. In the next video, I'm going to read about how she got saved. She actually got saved right after being tortured by demons and disciplined by Satan himself. She became a bride of Satan. She married Satan. Very, very demonic ceremony that she had. It's all in the book. Again, a lot of this I'm skipping through because it's just too graphic for this video. And I just don't want anyone accidentally hearing this that doesn't want to hear this. So in the next video, I'll talk about how she got saved. Guys, today's the day of salvation. Now's the day to be delivered. If you need deliverance, now's the time. Go to our website, IsaiahSaldivar.com/deliverance. We do Zoom deliverances as well every other Monday. Get free. It's not a joke. It's not a game. If this video opened up your eyes to the demonic realm, share it with somebody. You guys might think this video is graphic, but this is nothing compared to what this book talks about. Again, this book is He Came to Set the Captives Free by Rebecca Brown. There you go. He Came to Set the Captives Free by Rebecca Brown. It's not on Kindle. You have to order it. It's a very old book. It was written in 86. She actually passed away. The author passed away last year in June. But Elaine, who came out of witchcraft, it's her story coming out of the cult. We'll see you guys in the next video.